Welcome everyone to True Women's Health Facebook Live. Tonight we are talking all things weight. I am Dr. Celia Egan. I'm an internal medicine specialist and obesity medicine specialist, as well as most recently a menopause specialist. So welcome to our Facebook Live and thank you for joining us. Thank you to our patients who know me and have seen me in the office, and thank you to all of our new folks who are on that want to learn a little bit more about weight. All right, so we're going to flash up a map here, which is a cruel reminder of where we're at in terms of weight management. So it is no surprise. I know we hear this all the time on the news and in doctors' offices. This is the prevalence rate of self-reported obesity in the United States. These numbers have gone up over the past 30 years drastically. And I think it's just almost a reminder of kind of what we're dealing with. And, you know, some of us are in the range of obesity or just have a little bit of extra weight that we need to lose. But I think this is just can be a good reminder of where we're at and kind of feeling that, you know, you're not alone if you have extra weight that you need to lose. This is not a uncommon phenomenon. And there are, you know, doctors such as myself, you know, in the country that are here that are passionate about helping people get to a healthier state. All right. With that in mind, why, as a doctor, do I care about weight, right? And so a lot of people come to me with the question of, should I lose weight? Do I need to lose weight? You know, and so the question I bounce back to them is, you know, why, as a doctor, do I care about weight? I care about weight for three main reasons. The first reason is what I call, you know, body burden. This is just the fact that extra adipose tissue or extra fat cells or weight is just pressure. It's pressure on our joints. It's when we move, it's pressure on our organs, specifically our airways, which can lead to obstructive sleep apnea, pressure on our tummy, which can lead to reflux or GERD. And so if we lose some of this extra weight, it's just relieving some of that pressure and decreasing the burden on our body. The second reason why I care about weight is the disease linkage. So we know that there's this link between extra weight that we need to lose and elevated blood sugars, elevated blood pressure, osteoarthritis, obstructive sleep apnea, vascular disease, fatty liver disease. And we hope that if we decrease your weight, that maybe we're decreasing the risk of developing those diseases or putting those diseases in a better clinical state. And lastly, the reason why I care about weight is we know, as many of you do who struggle with extra weight, it's out there in the world, right? And we know that people who struggle with extra weight have higher rates of depression. They also struggle sort of achieving career goals sometimes, unfortunately. And so we're out, you know, we as doctors are out there to get people to meet their goals, whatever they may be, right? Being in a better mood, getting a better job, being in a career position that they want to be. And so I know that having that extra weight really impacts a lot of our relationships and our relationships with the outside world. Okay, so that's why I care about it. So how do we sort of get started? So here at True Weight Journey, we have a bit of a plan in terms of looking at our pyramid. So if we're going to pop that up on the screen, this is sort of how we get started. So a lot of you have come to see me. We talk a lot about this. And at the top of our weight loss pyramid is mindset. So I'm going to just pause for a second and kind of tell a personal story, because I think this really, truly exemplifies kind of how important our mindset is. So before Christmas, I, you know, met with my own kind of like healthcare professional, and they were like, Christmas is coming up, you know, are you going to struggle with healthy eating? And I was like, please, right? I am a obesity medicine specialist. There is not anyone that knows healthy eating more than me. I got this, right? I'm totally on top of it. Flash forward, you know, 3 or 4 weeks into early December, I'm up 5 or 6 pounds, right? And I'm reflecting back about all the things that I've eaten. And I was reflecting how quietly and you know, slowly sort of treats snuck into my day-to-day with all the things that are well-intentioned, right? Holiday parties, family parties, that one extra special, you know, dinner or meal or drink, and how our mind just sort of plays a bit of a trick on us and we start making deals. Oh, it's one more piece. It's one more day. It's one more drink, right? We start making deals with ourselves about why that's a good thing. And I was laughing about even the best of us, right? The ones that know the most about why we should or shouldn't eat things, or why we should or how many treats we should and should not have. get struck down a bit, because that mindset piece is so important. And kind of thinking and reflecting about our relationship with food is so important. And this, I'm going to pause just for a second. And I think it's helpful even to think about, why does our body hold on to extra weight? So if you think about what has happened in science of obesity medicine over the past kind of 10 to 20 years, we've moved a little bit away from a pure calories in versus calories out scenario where it's, you're eating more than you're burning, therefore you're storing, as the only model to explain why people are holding on to weight. And how I like to think about it is that our brain is there deciding basically, what signal am I going to send to my fat cells? Am I going to say grow, shrink, or maintain? And our brain is collecting cues from our gut, our liver, our fat cells, or our adipose cells themselves. And then it's going to send a signal down to our fat cells to say, again, grow, shrink, maintain. And so when we talk about treatment plans of moving that brain signaling from a grow to a either maintain or shrink mode, we're really trying to optimize all those cues and all that signaling. Now, the problem with this is that we don't know all those signals. And you know what I'm talking about, right? We see these women every day that say, I don't know what happened. I'm eating the same thing. I'm working out the same way. And yet here I am 10 pounds heavier. Or I, went on vacation and for some reason I'm back on my same routine and I can't get that 10, 15 pounds off that I put on when I was on vacation or on that cruise. And so it can make it a little tricky to figure out all these different pieces. And so that's why this is how we get started with our weight loss pyramid. And I think mindset is first and foremost. This includes not only our kind of relationship with food, but also our relationship with other people, right? Our relationship with the world. Are we sort of in constant conflict with others, which can pop our brain into a weight gaining state? Or are we finding some peace throughout our day? Peace at work, peace with our families. All right. The next thing that we do to sort of help ladies lose weight is we really try to optimize their nutrition. Food is just a drug that we take every day, right? And it sends those cues to our brain. It works through our gut and through our liver to send cues to our brain that can manipulate that fat storage signaling. And, it can be really difficult to make a good food choice. And when I talk about making a good food choice, I sort of break it down into 3 different concepts. So the first concept is education. Okay. So this is knowing what should I or should I not be eating for me, for my body, right? And some of this has to do with preference as well. So, what seems to be healthy for me? All right. The second piece is logistics. All right, fine, Dr. Egan, you told me what I should be eating, but I'm a busy lady. How do I get it? How do I cook it? How do I get it from the grocery store to my house? How do I afford it? How do I make it tasty? That's logistics, right? And just kind of the back and forth of getting our food kind of made for us. And then last, which is I think what I was alluding to over my Christmas break, was ability, right? I know what to eat. I know how to eat it. And there it is right in front of me. But it's Friday night and someone just ordered pizza. Am I going to eat my salmon with boiled broccoli? Or am I going to eat this pizza, right? And that's the ability to make a right choice kind of with every meal, every snack. There's so many different concepts about good nutrition. I feel like you can't open a newspaper or a magazine or a website without reading something about a new trend or a new meal plan that in terms of timing and quantity and all those different things. I think a lot of it has to do with preference, and there's definitely some really strong common themes. And I think limiting processed food in general tends to be a common theme that's pretty well accepted. Here at True Women's Health, we talk a lot about using our seeds, which includes 5 complex carbohydrates, 5 lean proteins, 3 healthy fats, and limiting ourselves to 1 treat. We have a lot of information on our website that deals a lot more with getting the exact those exact numbers down again. And so you can always visit our website and use your app for all of our True patients for more information. All right. The next sort of avenue that we talk about for folks is medications. So there are several FDA approved medications that are out there to help women lose weight. And they can be safe and effective. Our last Facebook Live, which you can find on YouTube, actually went through these a little bit more in detail. And I'll just touch on the three major ones that we use. My favorite drug currently on the market is a drug called Wegovy. So when we eat fat and protein, there's hormones that leave our GI tract, and basically, again, this is the cues, right? The cues that leave our GI tract and go to our brain. And they're like, hey, brain, we got food here. You don't need to be hungry, right? Well, Wegovy mimics one of those hormones, and women tend to see a lot of great weight loss. And the main side effects tend to be nausea. The other drug that we use a lot is this drug called Qsymia, which is actually a combination pill of two medications called phentermine and topiramate, which have been used actually about 10 or 20 years now together to kind of help people lose weight, and people stay on them long term and do quite well. And then the last medication, which we give out frequently, is a drug called Contrave. This is also a combination medication with the use of the medications bupropion, which we sometimes use for depression, and a medication called naltrexone, which we use for a variety of different reasons. Contrave in particular really helps work at the brain reward system to really turn down a bit of our cravings for sugar and all those sweets and treats. And if you find yourself really struggling with your ability piece to make a good food choice, this can be a great choice. And of course, the second piece of medications is our moans or our hormones. So as we've discussed many a time on our True Women's Health Facebook Lives, the importance of, optimizing our hormones, particularly during the perimenopause and early menopause phase, and making sure that if you're a candidate for hormone replacement therapy, that'd be something that we could optimize for you. And we do that a lot for our patients to try to get them feeling better, not only from a weight standpoint, but from a variety of other reasons, including hot flashes and night sweats. All right. So we also talk a little bit about, I think you'll note that the one thing I didn't talk about and harp on a lot of the time was exercise. And, it's funny, exercise, the first thing that people talk about when they come to my office is, one, I want to lose weight. Two, I'm just going to exercise more. I don't tend to find that to be as successful in terms of weight loss as the only sort of lifestyle change that we make, although I think exercise is great for a variety of different reasons. And I would never tell someone to not exercise. But in terms of pure weight loss, sometimes I think it can be more helpful to kind of reflect a little bit about our mindset and our relationship with food. And then once we feel like we have a good handle on that, flipping into sort of a very productive exercise mode. I think about exercise in 4 ways. So there's cardio, right? That's hands on our hips, sweating, a little short of breath, right? Running, jogging, biking. Then I think of it as strength training. This is lifting weights, either lifting weights like resistance training or doing isometric training, which is like more bands. Then there's flexibility training, which is, stretching, yoga, kind of getting our body into a kind of Zen state. And then I think of NEAT. That's actually non-exercise activity thermogenesis. This is movement, right? This is going for a walk, using the stairs instead of the elevator, washing our windows, dancing, right? Just moving throughout the day. And kind of how we talk when I give out exercise advice, we sort of have women start from the backwards, start with NEAT and move backwards. So if you're doing nothing, you have no exercise plan, you're not really moving, we first start, okay, let's get you moving more, whether it be doubling your steps or taking a walk every day or, shifting, doing some walks in between your desk time that you spend a lot of time at your desk, getting a standing desk, just starting to do more movement. A great thing can be doing this together. A lot of the times when we reach out to our girlfriends, a lot of us want to get a drink or get coffee, mobilize it, right? Go for a walk. I know it can be difficult sometimes on these cold days in Michigan, but going for a walk, talking is a great way to sort of add in more steps throughout the day. The next thing we talk about is flexibility training and getting our, stretching, relieving some of the tensions, particularly from our lower back and shoulders that builds up with all of our technology use, working on the computer, using our phones. And then the next big step is adding in some strength training. Strength training is one of those things that can be done either with a professional or you can sometimes watch videos on YouTube to get a sense. Of course, we love our Peloton app because we think that has a lot of great content. And we've also worked with Curves, which also has a lot of great content at a pretty decent price in terms of getting some instruction about how to get started on weight training. And as always, for all of our patients, we're here to guide you on more resources in the Grand Rapids community. One thing that you also may have seen on the pyramid, if we can just pull that up one more time, is sleep. So, any patient of ours knows that at True Women's Health, we really want our patients to sleep. And we're really shooting for 50 hours a week or ballpark 7 to 8 hours a night. And there's studies that have showed that patients who sleep 6 hours weigh more than patients who sleep 7 hours, weigh more than patients who sleep 8. And so there tends to be this sweet spot right around 8 to 7 hours that people tend to put their body really into a weight, either maintenance or losing state, and sleep's really funny because it's a little bit like a double whammy. If we don't get enough sleep, right, if we're not able to let our mind process and our body rest, one, we get a biochemical change, which influences all those weight gaining signals. And then two, we're just not able to turn down those sweets like we were before. I can fully attest that those times when, I was on night call or answering calls all night, the next morning, boy, was I hungry, right? And I was walking by the donut shop and, oh God, those seem so much better than they did the day before, right? And that can be a real phenomenon. So not only are we putting our body biochemically not into a weight losing state, but then it's really hard to turn on those foods that just, again, put us into a weight storage state. And one of the last topics we sort of reflect on in terms of kind of helping women optimize their weight is what we like to call serenity, right? Our stress levels. And again, this has a lot to do with our relationship, not only with the outside world and food, but kind of with ourselves, right? And feeling when our body is put into like an overly stressed state. I like to call it like that bubble, right? And when you say it that way, everyone kind of knows what I'm talking about, right? You're in that meeting or you're opening that email and you sort of get that bubble that sort of kind of arises inside and you're kind of like, oh my gosh, I really didn't like that email, right? And a lot of what we have women do is kind of reflect on those times and try to kind of minimize those a bit, and hopefully find a time when they can calm their bodies and minds together. We think that changes the signaling into more of a weight losing state. So that's sort of how we help women lose weight. And there's obviously, you could spend hours talking about all these sort of different topics, and people do. But we're here always to field questions. And I feel like that's one of the things that I love best about our program is that we're here to kind of field all these questions because it can feel a bit overwhelming that every time you see a new person, read a new article, get a new email, right, it seems to be some other plan. And we're here to vet that for you. I will tell you, I spend a tremendous amount of time reading all the books, all the weight loss books, and vetting all of it to make sure that it seems as though that it's fair content for people. And I'll definitely make a recommendation or check it out based off, if any patient had a recommendation, we definitely check it out for them. So that brings us just to a quick update about our weight loss program. So we've added a new section to our weight loss program, or a bit of a change. We realized that women needed a bit longer than 12 weeks to actually get to where they wanted to be. And so we moved from a pay at the beginning as you go to a insurance model with a monthly membership of about $75. And then we'll bill your insurance for visits. And this is as many visits as you need. And it can provide women with a bit of a longer time to optimize these plans, because we know that changes don't happen overnight. And the 12 weeks did not seem like a bit of a long enough time to make that happen. Of course, if you wanted to do the 12-week program, we could do that for you within the $75 a month concept, but we would just bill your insurance so that we could get all your visits in as needed. Of course, we're still offering meal replacements, which you can use in exchange for food. They're a great tool. They really help with the logistics piece and the ability. They kind of help with all three, right? You don't have to think about what you're eating because it's already been thought about for you. Logistically, it's easy to mix up a shake if you're struggling getting in a healthy breakfast, lunch, pre-dinner snack. And lastly, if you're never walking to the pantry, never walking to the break room, never walking to the fridge, it's much easier to kind of make that healthy food choice. So meal replacements really hit on all those three aspects of making a good food choice. And they're a great tool. They're of course not for everyone. Not everyone loves them. We totally get that. And we're open to other options, but they're definitely a great choice for women who are struggling to make a good food choice. All right. So we're here for our 5 tips. All right. Tip 1, do I need to lose weight? So, I will tell you, not too many people come to my office saying, oh my gosh, Dr. Egan, you're the first person that's ever told me that I need to lose weight, right? I think a lot of women come in saying, I think I do need to lose weight. I'm uncomfortable either with my appearance or just where I'm at, or I want to be healthier. Do I need to lose weight? And I like to think about it again in those 3 sort of concepts, meaning if you have, body burden, if you're struggling with joint pain, you don't feel like you can move as well as you used to. If you have disease burden, right? Prediabetes, high cholesterol, high blood pressure, fatty liver disease, obstructive sleep apnea, that would be a reason that we are trying to optimize. And we may not get to the goal weight that you want to be at, that maybe you were when you were 30 or 25, but maybe we've lowered the risk of those disease burden. We got your blood sugar numbers better, your blood pressure numbers better. That's a win, right? And then lastly, thinking about kind of your relationship with your body in the outside world. And we can reflect on that and kind of figure out what that should be. All right. Second tip. Am I tracking my ping to eat? Oh my gosh, one of my favorite topics ever. So if you've ever listened to any of our True Women's Health Facebook lives, you'll know that I've talked about the ping to eat. So what's our ping to eat, right? So our ping to eat is, ding, I got that ping to eat, right? What is this? Is this hunger? So hunger is my belly's empty. I haven't eaten in hours. It's growling. I need to eat something, right? That's a cue from our stomach to tell our body to eat. If you're hungry, give your body fuel, right? Or ding, I want to eat. Ooh, it's a craving. My belly is full. I just had dinner, right? It's 8 p.m. I had a very lovely dinner. I feel fine. I just want to eat, or I want a sweet, or I want a crunch, or I want ice cream, or. This is a craving. It's very uncomfortable, and it comes from a different part of our brain than hunger. You don't necessarily have to feed a craving, and there's a lot of tools that we work on to kind of ride that craving wave out. Sometimes so easier said than done, right? Because sometimes our cravings are so powerful that we have to do something, and we come up with a lot of different tips to kind of help ride out that craving wave. One great one could be movement, right? So even just saying, all right, this is a craving. I am not hungry. I am craving popcorn. I'm going to go for a quick walk, either walk around my yard, up and down the driveway. I'm going to go on my deck, get some fresh air, whether it be cold or not, right? And just let it be, just sit with it, right? And just feeling where we are. Or some women hop on their treadmill for 5 minutes. You don't have to get sweaty. This isn't about being sweaty, right? It's just giving our body a little bit more. And that can help bring that craving wave down a little bit, just enough so that we're able to, maybe a handful of popcorn is all we need, right? So we move from a handful of popcorn to the entire bag, and that can be a win. All right, next tip. Number 3, what is my relationship with food? A lot of us lean on food, particularly during really stressful times, for comfort, whether it be from boredom, sadness, anxiety. And that's why your ping to eat can be so helpful, because it really kind of sheds a bit of light on, why am I eating this right now? Am I really hungry and I'm providing my body fuel? Or am I relying on food to cope with some other, ill in my life? So now that's a lot of why we talk about stress, because not only are we trying to lower that threshold for feeling stressed throughout the day, but we're trying to recognize these patterns of when we get so stressed, we don't deal with it in the moment, but then it comes out later as, oh my gosh, uncontrollable cravings for chocolate or ice cream or whatever. So, there is no right or wrong answer to this question. I would have said that I probably throughout college, before I've done some of this work, if someone had asked me this question, I would have been like, no, I have a great relationship with food, no issues, right? And the more I've gotten involved with this work, I'm like, holy cow, I really struggle with this. I'm really kind of stress eating. I had no idea that there was so much linkage between my emotions and my food choices. And I think it can be enough just to pause and even just be self-forgiving of ourselves to say, maybe I do this a little bit more than I thought. And how can I change that to help me get to my health goals? All right, next tip. Am I a candidate for weight loss medications? All right, great. As you guys all know, I love my weight loss medications. So most of the time where we get started is patients who have a BMI greater than 30 or a BMI greater than 27 with one of the comorbidities, either elevated blood sugars, elevated blood pressures, or elevated lipids, fatty liver disease. That would be enough to sort of pull the trigger to start a weight loss medication. Our biggest barrier is insurance coverage and cost. Hopefully that won't always be the case in the future, but that's currently our biggest barrier. And honestly, I'd put a lot more patients on them if I had their insurance coverage. And I definitely think it's worth a conversation with any provider that you're seeing. All right, number 5. Am I ready for a weight loss plan? So, a lot of the times we can just be in points in life that maybe we're just not ready, and that's okay, right? It's enough to say, maybe I have a goal and I have an idea of where I want to be, but I'm maybe caring for a sick parent. Maybe I'm in the middle of a job switch, right? Maybe I'm in the middle of a major relationship conflict. And that's okay to say, I'm not ready right now for a weight loss plan, and I'm going to pick maybe 1 or 2 things to just think about to get me healthier. So maybe I just am going to reflect on, moving more. Maybe I'm going to reflect on just my ping to eat and just naming what my feelings are. And that's enough. And honestly, friends, that's okay, right? These really stressful times in our lives will change and they will end. And every quarter, just check in with your body and your life and see it and ask yourself this question: am I ready for this weight loss plan? All right, those are our tips. So for all of our folks that are not in the Grand Rapids area and are seeing other providers outside our practice, some questions to ask. So 1, are we monitoring for weight-related comorbidities? So some of these would be discussion around your blood sugars. Blood pressure is usually a common one that we check, but it's always a reminder to see where those numbers are and make sure they're not trending up over the past couple of years. Looking very closely at all of our lipid markers, and not just the LDL-C, but also looking at the triglycerides, make sure that those numbers are not getting a bit out of whack. Thinking about our sleep and wondering if we would qualify for a sleep study, or maybe wondering whether or not we have sleep apnea. Those would be a lot of the weight-related comorbidities that we'd be concerned about. Question 2 for your primary care doctor: am I a candidate for weight loss medications? So I think that this is really a helpful question to ask your primary care doctor, because there are some times that these medications are contraindicated and you'd want to review all your medical history with a provider that knows you enough to sort of make that decision with them. Number 3. Okay, if I am a candidate, how do I get them? So, there are a lot of primary care doctors that are becoming quite familiar, which is great, with the weight loss medications. So not only do they have to be familiar of how to start them, but there's a lot of insurance nuances that can come into play about getting them covered. So you'd want to ask your provider if they're up to date about, how you get it covered and getting the prior auths through, and making sure that they're sending it to a pharmacy that would know how to get the right dosage of the medication in supply. Not only if you're not able to work with your primary care doctor, or they're unsure of exactly how to get these medications, you can always check out the ABOM, the American Board of Obesity Medicine. They have a provider page, and you can see if there's a provider that's local to you that's board certified in obesity medicine that would qualify to be able to provide you these medications. All right, number 4. Am I on any weight gaining medications? So very interestingly, there are some medications that can cause weight gaining. Again, we're thinking about the signaling that's coming from our brain, right? That's telling our fat cells shrink, grow, or maintain. And there's some medications that we commonly use that sometimes, not for every person, but sometimes can send a signal that's a weight gaining medication. And we know what some of these are. So a big one that we see sometimes is steroids, or prednisone, dexamethasone, which we give to people for a variety of reasons. And sometimes women take them more long-term, and it's almost a guarantee that the longer you're on, the more weight gain you will see. And there's a variety of other different medications that can be weight gainers. And it can be helpful just to make sure to review your medication list and to make sure that there's no medications that are on that could be causing weight gain. Also, a couple of blood pressure medicines sometimes can be some weight gainers that it can be helpful to make some switches to some of the newer medications that are out. All right, number 5. If I am struggling with my relationship with food, what are resources that are available to me? So if you're not in the Grand Rapids area, there are great apps and books that are out there. So a great app is this app called Eat Right Now, which deals a lot with mindful eating and high cravings and sort of how do we handle those feelings in the moment. And they give patients some tools that aren't just no, right? So if we all had, if we're all sitting here with our cravings sort of at the end of the night and we're really frustrated with, what to do next, just saying no doesn't work, right? That was kind of the prior mantra, is like, just say no, just turn it down. For the most part, we all can do that for a while, but eventually it sort of bubbles and boils, and then it kind of busts open, and then we're there right back where we started unless we come up with a better plan. So that app is called Eat Right Now, which is a great app. There's a lot of great books out there about mindful eating. You can check out any at your local bookstore, Amazon, or library. And then there's mindfulness-based eating awareness training, MBEAT. There's classes sort of around the country. I know for sure we have one here in Grand Rapids at the Grand Rapids Center for Mindfulness. This is an interactive class. Most of the time they're over Zoom, but it's an interactive class where they dive deep into mindful eating. And there's a lot of tools and feedback that can be really helpful for patients sort of struggling with that relationship with food. If you find that you're really struggling, as always, there's always Food Addicts Anonymous that you can check out near you. And they usually have group therapy and a lot of local resources that can be really helpful for women struggling with binge eating disorders and those struggling with food addictions. So unless there's any other questions, we're going to end our Facebook Live tonight. This was a lot of information. A lot of it can feel a bit overwhelming at times and feels like you have to do 1,000 different things, but honestly, you don't. If you would like to see us, you can always check us out at our website, truewomenshealth.com. You can visit us in our Grand Rapids office in Grand Rapids, Michigan, off of East Paris. And as always, we're on Facebook and Twitter sharing information and data, and we help out any women who need primary care, menopause assistance, weight, and assistance with sexual health. All right. Oh, one quick question. Do you typically have handouts for these presentations? We don't, but we are happy to give a lot of this information we have available in document form, and we're more than happy to, Kelly, I can text it to you in our great health app that we have. So we'll definitely send you some information, and you can send specific questions that you liked about the questions that you had about the presentation that we can send out. All right. Unless there's any other questions, we hope to see you in our office. Thanks.